Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody attending the webinar. Thank you so much for everyone who could join us today. My name is Mush. Today we will be talking about uh, solving the 2020 mobile testing challenges with a codeless solution. We are beginning right on time. I know everybody is either working remotely. Hopefully, everybody's working remotely and staying safe. Um, Starting on. A quick look at our agenda today. Uh, the first part of the webinar and discussion will be talking about the growing demand for mobile testing that we have observed over the last few years, and we will talk about what are the key drivers for that, as well as us as testers, what are the typical challenges that we face, talk a little bit about why that is, and then also get into talking about what could be potential solutions for overcoming those challenges that we see as testers. My co-hosts and colleagues, Nico and Tan, will also be talking about some of the emerging cloud device providers, talk a little bit about how to solve the problems with the solutions that will help reduce the time to test, be more effective in analyzing the results, and then also coming up with a unified platform for testing web and mobile from his perspective on the Perfecto solution. And then finally, Tan will be walking us through a quick demo leveraging Katalon to help show how we can maximize our automation test coverage using Perfecto. So with that, let's get started. Again, my name is Mush. I'm the strategic advisor for Katalon, and I also represent KMS Technology, which is a worldwide provider of testing services and consulting services. So talking about the key drivers to the specific growth and challenges that we face, it boils down to something very basic, right? If you think about just the ease of access that each one of us across the globe have to a smartphone, to the internet, and definitely to the different mobiles, it's nothing out of the ordinary that shows how and why mobile adoption and app development has gained popularity, right? If you just look at some of the data from Statista, you will see that just trending to the number of smartphone users currently has already passed 3 billion, and that is forecasted to grow by several hundred million more, reaching almost 4 billion, quite honestly, by next year, which is just amazing in terms of the rate of growth. The other interesting tidbit here is looking at just the overall internet traffic. Mobile phones are really on the higher side now, beating out all other types of connections, by 52.2% being the mode of internet access through mobile phones. Another interesting fact is in 2018, the typical app revenue globally for mobile developers was close to 365 billion, and now it's projected to almost more than double in the next few years, touching almost 935 billion by 2023. And then just last year, the number of mobile app downloads was close to about 200 billion, which was actually an increase of more than 45% just from a few years ago. So, the net and net of all of this is just the overall adoption of and access to smartphones and the use over the internet has created this intense flux of additional opportunities for developers to actually build more applications. So obviously from a testing perspective, right, that does pose a challenge. I'm sure most, if not all of us attending this webinar face these challenges on a pretty consistent basis, right? And the one sort of silver lining to this is we are not alone in this, right? It's a global uh, uh, effect, right? So the data we have on the screen now sort of shows us over the last 5 years what were some of the top challenges that the testing was facing when it comes to mobiles, right? And mobiles really includes wearables and includes social and traditional applications. If you were to look towards the left side of this slide, the top four challenges we faced was, as testers, we don't have enough time to test, right? I know how many times I've had to have those discussions with the product owners, with the development team to say, hey, guys, we definitely need more time to make sure we are raising our confidence in the quality. There's been ways and discussions where, as a tester, I felt we don't necessarily have the right tools to test the mobile apps with, or don't have the right testing process or the methodology in place. And then also another interesting challenge that seems to, over the past few years, drop some thanks to solutions like Perfecto Mobile and others, where we don't have in-house testing environments dedicated to help us support testing. Another interesting part from this chart that you can see is the time aspect, the tool set selection still continue to trend pretty high up there, where almost half of us continue to feel that we don't have those abilities just yet, while access to the methodology as well as environments has the challenge factor has dropped some, but it still continues on. So, looking at just those four, let's take a deeper dive into, why those continue to be challenges that us as testers face. By the way, this information was just pulled out of the latest copy of the World Quality Report. If you guys have not seen that report, I would highly encourage you to search for it and download it. Usually, sites offer it for free. It's definitely a great read for just understanding the overall landscape of the industry. So looking at, the obvious highest and most popular challenge that we face, right, which is how do we, what can we do to have more time to test, right? So if you think about the root cause of why that is, right, essentially, uh, the because of the global phenomena of having access to the internet and being able to, build an app in your garage, or in a small room, and then be able to, get it out there for people to use, right? That sort of created a global competition that was not there before. And what that's done is, organizations and developers are now competing to get their app into the market as soon as possible, and as early in the consumer's hand, so that way they don't miss the boat of opportunity, right? So what that's done is, it's put a lot of pressure for time in the testing perspective to get that application out to production ASAP, right? Uh, Organizations, because of that, don't have necessarily the time to integrate the new tests needed to test the changes in the features or the new features that get introduced into their existing test cycles, and as a result have less time really to test this new code, as well as develop tests that can be automated and push that in time to meet the stringent or high pressure timelines to get the product out. The other reasons for this also usually is tied to the complexity of the overall mobile environment, right? Obviously, as you guys know, with uh, uh, mobiles, it is not, not a lot of organizations are mobile only or mobile first, right? There's a combination of mobile support to traditional web applications, and because of those combinations, having the complexity of allocating enough time to write stable tests that allow you to run across different mobile platforms, that's always been a challenge as well, and it continues to be a challenge. And then finally, trying to keep the competitive edge, most organizations or most app developers want to continuously add and improve their existing features, add new capabilities into their product. And again, because it's a global competition, they want to get their features out first or sooner in the hands of their end users or consumers, right? And that sort of puts an extra burden on us as testers to minimize the overall execution cycle length, right? Which really, translates as writing more and more tests in less and less time, right? Also, with keeping in mind the similar concepts, right? You now have so many different mobile device providers. You have new operating features coming out all the time, new features within, different platforms coming out all of the time. So the net and net, all of this, in order for me to make sure that the app I am testing constraints and uses and it works as expected across all of these multiple platforms, that's just a snowball getting bigger and bigger, and putting more pressure on us to test. Looking at the second and third item there, which is basically, as testers, the challenges of not having the right tools or the right process or the methodology in place, right? One of the key root causes for that sort of challenge is, first off, everybody and anybody is making automation tools, right? As engineers, I know we are always interested in learning about new tools that are either offered to us on a paid or a trial version. Either they come out as a paid version and we get bought in with great marketing to actually purchase them. If there's a native app support test tool, adding that in, and just having so many options available in the marketplace right now does give us the problem of saying maybe we didn't do our due diligence to actually pick the right tool, and we struggle with getting that right tool that allows us to do what we need to do for our application testing. The other aspect also is, if you look at just the automation tool stack, there are times when that tool stack isn't as capable with the organization we work for, which causes the introductions of several inefficiencies and slowdowns, right? If it's not, if the tool isn't stacked to sort of meet the skill set of your individual team members, that increases or adds further to these inefficiencies. And the net and net impact of all of that is, given the time constraints, again, that sort of negatively impacts the overall confidence of quality for the product that we are testing. And then finally, combining the tool selection process, there's also a lot of different methodologies that are in place, right? Some teams want to do ATDD, some teams want to do BDD, some teams want to have their own flavor of agile. Over the years, I've heard Scrumfall, Scrumban, Kanban, all of those mixtures that come in. So being able to pick a tool that also aligns with the methodology that your team is focusing on and uses sort of adds to this complexity. Finally, if you also look at another key challenge that a lot of us face, which is not having enough devices or testing environments, right? One of the key reasons for that is, just as I was talking about earlier, just the amount of devices, their resolutions, the different providers, their flavor of the OS, new upgrades coming in all the time, just having so many different combinations, especially if these are handed out to consumers worldwide, right? Just the exhaustive combinations that may exist are just tiring, right? In addition to that, a lot of teams may still be using physical devices that are shared among the group. And as you guys know, given the times we are in now, unfortunately, where everybody is either working from home or remotely, that puts even more pressure into having the ability to even share a device, right? What if I walked away with one of the older iPhones that my teammate now wants to check, but or test on, and unfortunately, we live several hundred miles apart, right? Or 20 miles apart, but can't actually get physical access to that, right? In addition to that, you can blow that out and say, hey, what happens when we work in different time zones and different continents, right? Which is with a international distributed team, that's also very possible, right? That actually causes more costs for your organization to now have to buy multiple devices of the same type and combination, just so that way it's easily placed across the different teams all around the globe. And then finally, just these different combinations, right? With the different OS versions, the upgrades coming in, the total count of permutations is just so intimidating, right? So what we want to talk about next as part of this webinar is what is the solution to that, right? So really, if you really think about what could be the right fit for you, right, is a combination of having a good mobile lab, right, that you can test your application under, and then also using the right test automation tool, right? So keeping that in mind, I want to transition over to my co-host Nico, who can talk a little bit about what Perforce is doing with emerging cloud device provisioning and services.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for attending today's webinar. My name is Nico Kruger. I'm the Director of Global Sales Engineering here at Perforce, and Perforce Software actually owns Perfecto. Today, it's a recent acquisition. I'm going to run you through how Perfecto really solves this problem with cloud devices in today's world. So again, when we look at the problem here, we have to take a step back, and this is a recent study we've performed to understand what our customers are saying, what the market in general is saying, and it does align with what you saw earlier. And again, one of the big things that'll jump out is, the number one problem, achieving complete test automation. And I think, as alluded to earlier, it is really understanding what are the tools out there, the right tools for you to use based on, your experience, based on your skill set. If you're a business tester and more on an engineering side or test automation engineer, how do I get as close to complete test automation as humanly possible? So again, helping understand how we solve that with tools like Katalon, or do I take a different approach with BDD, or whatever my approach would be to go ahead and achieve that. The second one that jumps out, as you can see in the statistics over here, is, of course, getting the infrastructure and maintaining that infrastructure, is what people typically call a lab. And so really what we're seeing in the market is that a lot of people go for a DIY, they try certain cloud vendors, but again, they do run into problems where, for example, just the pure array of devices and operating systems available in the market, there's not a single place or platform to go to that you can get all the browsers you want on all the phones you want, or if you just want phones or just want browsers, you want a combination of real devices and simulators. And that's really where a product like Perfecto will come in and can really help. We also see that, of course, a lack of scripting and coding skills, of course, is still a big issue for many of the, the people around the world that are looking into test automation as well. But then one of the other big things that jumped out at us is, how do we analyze these results? So when we get into test automation, we are running and we're getting very good automation, sometimes 80, 90% automation coverage. What do we do with the results? How do I actually get, in a list of 10,000 test results, how do I get to the bottom of these results? What sort of technologies are available that help me with AI understand how to get to the bottom of these? So why would you choose to solve this problem with a cloud-based provider? I think the biggest reason is, as mentioned, is the maintenance of these platforms, having the right phones available in them, making sure it's always available, always ready to run. You don't have to take care of it in your office, worry about VPN connections, setting it up, making sure that the devices are there, that it's secure, that it complies with all the sort of regulations that your organization may need. And that's where a company like Perfecto can really help. First of all, we have 13 data centers located globally. So it doesn't matter the country or the region you are in, we will have both the devices as well as the browser combinations in your country. We also then make sure that these data centers comply with good security practices. They all have a 24/7 knock available to make sure that it's always on and always ready to run. We also look at how do we solve this problem of the instances where you need to scale very quickly. So the Perfecto platform allows you to very quickly and on demand scale for more browsers or phones as you need them. So if you are getting ready for release and you all of a sudden need more phones or infrastructure, you can get those instantly. Again, what do we do about the test executions and the results that you get from them? So with our platform, we give you all the things that will help you very quickly get to the bottom of a bug or a crash and resolve it. We know that that is why we test, why we use a system like ours, is to really get the details to solve a bug very, very quickly. And that's really where Perfecto can give you everything: crash reports, device vitals, the HAR or performance files, all those sorts of things to help you resolve those issues very quickly. And the way we do this is really a zero trust approach. So none of our VMs are recycled. It's always brand new. There's no network sharing. We also solve the Macintosh problem. We have real Mac machines at the back end. If you want to test on, a Safari browser on a real Mac, we have those. So we solved a lot of those problems for our clients. So how do we reduce this time to test? So first of all, what is very important, what we're seeing in the market is that, depending on the skill set, depending, on what technology you're using, people will use different frameworks, different execution frameworks, orchestration, as well as different CI tools. So what we do is we really have an open approach where we will give you the ability to use the tools that you are comfortable with. I think that's one of the big things we see today is people pick tools, and as soon as they grow a bit or they acquire another company or a different team joins and they use slightly different frameworks, it all falls apart. And so really what you want is a platform that is good enough that can run everything from straight Selenium, Appium, Espresso, XUI test in a single place. And we've seen this for some of our clients, as you'll see a bit later on, what the advantages are of doing that. Of course, as you can see in my screenshot over here, is how do I run this at scale, right? How do I run lots of tests in parallel? And again, you can use frameworks like TestNG to do that orchestration for you. And again, you can prioritize what you want to run. And again, it's zero setup time on your front to scale. You simply say, I want these devices, I want these browsers, and you will get them instantly. And again, you can go ahead and execute against them. Again, you can also then, once you get more mature, start to build this in as part of your CI/CD platform. So again, as you commit code before a merge or pull request goes up, you can check that the tests pass, and again, feed those back in to the mainline branch. One of the other things we see a lot is when you build DIY labs or you choose different cloud providers or try to build your own, is what happens when you get a bit more advanced. And we talk a lot about advanced capabilities. And the first one doesn't seem like a big one, but when you think of having the latest device or latest browser the same day that it's in the store for your clients, so for example, the new iPhone or iOS 13, can I test against it? That's the question. And so Perfecto has never, ever missed a date. We've always had devices available and operating systems available the day they are released. That means you can give a phenomenal experience to your customers. You don't have to wait. Again, the other things we do really well is, location marking. How do I replicate if people are traveling around? We did this work for insurance companies where they were physically driving around with phones in a vehicle. And so we changed that where you could actually use the Perfecto platform so you could reduce the cost and also speed up that testing process. Again, what happens to my app if I'm traveling around the world or accessing a service from a different country or location? Because we have our data centers located around the globe, we can easily do that. Again, more advanced scenarios like Touch ID, Face ID, these are things that a lot of people start to struggle with as they get into testing these advanced features for their apps. Again, we have those available for iOS and Android on real devices or simulators and emulators. You don't have to choose. With us, you can test those advanced features on the devices of your choice. Other things like scanning a barcode or two-factor authentication where my app is getting an SMS or text message that I need to put into a browser. How do I do those advanced flows? Again, you can do those because with Perfecto, it's a single platform that you can access, for web and mobile devices. Again, We do other things like audio injection. How do I, in today's world, we see problems with everybody working remotely, all of a sudden voice over IP systems. How do I measure call quality? We can inject audio and do those sorts of things as well. Again, we have full support for cellular networks. So if you want to test how your app works on a real network, how does it handle maybe your app with Facebook or some other social media app being open? How do you share resources with other apps? These are advanced things you can definitely test with a platform like Perfecto. And just to give you some sense of what we've done for customers around the world, this is typically what we see when we go and talk to customers and really understand their real need and their problem and how we can help them be more successful. And again, I've just given some brief examples over here located for various clients, both in the US, EMEA, Africa, Asia, as well as Australia. Again, you can see a lot of the things we're trying to solve here is how do we get faster feedback? So we can reduce the time for you to know what's going on, when things are breaking, how to solve them very quickly. And Perfecto helps you get to the bottom of that instantly. So again, if you want to start to look at reducing that cycle time to speed up that DevOps lifecycle, Perfecto is really going to be a great tool for you to do so. So how do we actually do that? So here's a practical example where you look at reducing noise. So a lot of times we start to do test automation and it's working great, and we're using tools like Katalon, we're using BDD, Selenium, Appium, everything is just streaming in. And so all of a sudden we have thousands upon thousands of results. How do we analyze this? The Perfecto platform can take all the results from browsers, phones, real devices, simulators, and actually analyzes that result, and it'll tell you instantly where the problem is. Now, a good example here is our heat map. So what if I quickly, when I put this on a screen to identify, for example, for a new build or for a new iOS version, where things are failing? Here you can instantly see, for example, the iPhone X is causing a problem, or iPad mini is causing a problem. And if you click on that, you'll instantly get to the report so you can actually see what's going on. More importantly, what happens if I have different versions of iOS or Android that I want to compare to each other? So all of a sudden, for example, a Samsung S8 is failing, but the S6 is not. How can I compare them side by side to really get to the bottom of that? Even more so is if you start to have apps that are progressive web apps, where they can run the same app really on a phone as well as a browser. How do I compare multiple apps at the same step? So if I have a single script, how can I compare them to see where the problem is? And here's a great example of taking that and comparing the same script across multiple devices, browsers, as well as phone, and get to a problem instantly. And so once you click on that to get to the problem, you will see not only the rich artifacts, the videos and all those things we have available, you will also be able to see that full stack trace, what actually happened, right? You can get the performance files, the vitals, the device logs, all those things that are important to you as a tester, but more so important to the engineer that needs to resolve these issues. Again, it does integrate with Jira. So if I click that bug little button at the top right-hand corner, I'll be able to push my details into my backlog instantly. That means really reducing that time back to engineering. And there really isn't an excuse anymore for not understanding how to not only reproduce a specific bug, but also looking at a video playback of how that bug originated in the first place. So just a great way for teams really to start working together in a more cohesive fashion. So how do we do this? So Perfecto is a unified platform. So if you think at the very bottom of the screen, you can see what we call our smart test lab or infrastructure. Because we've done this for so many years, and we have all these data centers around the world, we intimately understand how to make this run at scale. That is for real devices, mobile simulators and emulators, as well as desktop browsers. We've built technology where these things can start to self-heal themselves. So that really means less maintenance and downtime for both you and us. It means these infrastructure becomes elastic, where we can scale as you need it. It also means that we know how to collect all the things that are important to engineers to solve these problems. And then, of course, if you look at the middle bit, is how do you author and create these? That could be a tool like Katalon. It could be a Codeless tool. It could be any tool that you pick as the authoring. And it might be a combination for many of you. It might be part engineering, part business testers, and so on. So again, the tool you pick for authoring is really up to you, how you debug and interact with the system. Again, you can use our dev tunnel capabilities to really get to a device or browser to debug against it. We also allow this if you're doing internal sites, right? So even if your site is internal or the app is internal, it doesn't go to a public-facing audience, you can debug and test against those apps using Perfecto. We have the ability to connect to your network seamlessly. And again, we allow you to orchestrate as you need it. But really at the top is where we give you a tremendous amount of value. It's understanding the problem, analyzing that problem, and getting to the root cause very, very quickly. And again, Perfecto excels in doing that for you. So really to summarize, what is the difference here? Perfecto is an enterprise-grade cloud solution. That means work from anywhere, it's available always, it's scalable, and it is secure, right? We are there for you 24/7. We've got data centers across most continents these days. And again, if you're a big bank or a small startup, we've got the option that will help you solve the problems that you're looking to solve. The biggest thing is it is a single platform. It is one place to go for web and mobile testing. You don't have to pick a different provider for different things. We will have the beta OSs, the latest OSs, browsers available for you instantly. So again, it makes that a lot easier. Probably very pertinent in today's world is remote device access. No longer do you have to worry about getting to a device, getting to the right device. You simply open up a browser and you are connected to them. More importantly, with our dev tunnel and P-Connect capabilities, you can have a device simulated as if it's plugged into a USB port on your local computer. So really it takes away all the bottlenecks and problems typically associated with debugging against a real device if needed. And then finally, getting that automation coverage you need, and also the real user conditions. How do I simulate people using my app so that we test the way people are using my app? And again, we do those with our real user simulation conditions we've got, network, change of location, background apps, all those sorts of things. And again, finally, getting to the bottom of analyzing these problems fast and efficiently, as well as having this being part of your test automation pipeline, so your CI/CD pipeline. Again, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you a lot. Okay, so now I will be talking, or I'll be showing you a demo about how to integrate Katalon and Perfecto together. So let me just share my screen first. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Tan. I'm a software engineer at Katalon LLC. I work on Katalon Studio primarily. And I've worked on several features, such as some of you may know the auto healing expert and that whole thing, which I will be talking about briefly later on. And also I'm an active visitor on the forum. So some of you may see me on the forum answering users' questions about how to use Katalon. So now I will be showing you how to use Katalon and Perfecto together. Okay, so first of all, to use Katalon and Perfecto together, the first thing you need to do is to install the Perfecto integration plugin from our Katalon store here. It's a free plugin. And as you can see, once you hit this install button, and then in Katalon Studio, you just need to navigate on the right side on the top right corner and then hit reload plugins. It will fetch the plugin from the store and then you will be ready to use the Perfecto plugin. Okay, so after you have installed the plugin, the first thing you need to do is to configure the authentication information between Katalon and Perfecto. Essentially, you need to connect to Perfecto. And to do that, you just need to go to Project, Settings, and then here in this Project Settings, click on Plugins, and then expand it, go to Perfecto. Now, this is the panel where you will input both the credentials, which is the security token, and also the configuration name. So this will be used as information for the configuration when you run your test on Perfecto, for example. For this profile, for this configuration, I will be running on iOS. The automation name platform is Appium. And here's security token. To obtain the security token, just go to Perfecto here and then go to your account and click on my security token and just copy to this, just copy to clipboard and then paste it within the dialog here. And after you are done with all of that, remember to click on this generate Perfecto custom profile to actually generate a configuration. Otherwise, it will not take effect. And to verify that this configuration has been successfully created, you can just go to design capabilities and then in custom. As you can see here, there are many Perfecto configurations that I have created previously. And just you can verify the information and change it in here if you want to. So that's how you can create a configuration between Katalon and Perfecto. So this configuration will be used to execute your test on Perfecto platform. So the first thing I want to do is, of course, uh, I will show you how to record a test case in Katalon Studio on Perfecto devices. So to reiterate what Nico and Masha said, um, one of the primary concerns for mobile testing is that we don't have in-house infrastructure and we don't have enough devices. And especially in the coronavirus situation right now, some companies are switching to a work from home culture, and some companies already have that culture, but nevertheless, it will play a crucial role in our lives as we know it, as fast as we can see. And one of the challenges presented from the situation is that we don't have devices readily available in our houses. So the ability to develop tests on Perfecto devices without having to, have a device available is very powerful. So um, the first thing you need to do though is to upload your application to the Perfecto cloud. And this is a piece of code that essentially uploads the application, the APK file and the API file to Perfecto. This looks complicated, but really you just need to provide a path to the application and then call Perfecto keywords.upload media, and then the application will be uploaded. So this is the first step because you have to have this application available on Perfecto in order to develop test cases on Perfecto devices. So just remember that. Okay, and now to record on cloud devices, you just need to click on this record mobile icon and then choose remote devices. And here, the configuration here, if you click on edit, you can see that this is the remote configuration. This is essentially the same, contains the same information as the Perfecto configuration here. So the difference is you have to provide the configuration here manually. The Perfecto configuration that I created earlier is used to execute tests on Perfecto, and this remote configuration is used to record test cases on Perfecto devices. So that's a crucial difference. Um, but essentially the information are the same. The remote server URL, the security token, and all the other information are essentially the same. So you just need to provide that. And then here, this is the path to the application. As you can see here, um, when we uploaded the application, we also specify the path to the application with respect to Perfecto's virtual repository. So it means that we can simply provide a path in here. And then just hit start. Yeah. So let me see. Maybe the connection is unstable. Okay, hold on. Let me read a moment. Not no. Okay, so let me try again. Yeah, actually, I want to record on an Android device. So, okay, here we go. Yep. Yes, so as you can see here, I have successfully connected to a Perfecto device and successfully launched my application on an Android device. So this is the device view in Katalon Studio. And if you want to check on Perfecto, you can go to live stream here, and there should be a row of data specifying which connection is alive. And if you click on this camera icon, you can actually see the current status of the mobile device. This is the current screen. Essentially, this is the same screen as this, so we're fine. So let me record a very simple test case. So just perform a simple addition and then plus, then tab. It's very straightforward. So the earlier error message is due to unstable connection with the Perfecto cloud server. So if you run into that message, you just need to try to open the mobile recorder again. Usually it will resolve the issue. Yep. Okay. Now I'm gonna get the text here and then verify it. Of course, a test case usually always contain a verification statement to verify whether the state of the application is as we expect. Okay, so now you just need to, once you're done recording the test case, you just need to click on stop here and just need to click on OK and then record the test case. This is the object repository. You can create a new folder here, and then all of the objects from this test case will be dumped into the folder. I have already created a test case, of course, so I don't need to save it. So this is the test case that I just recorded. So a few things that you need to pay attention to. First of all, we need to use the Perfecto keywords. So this keyword is available when you um, install the Perfecto integration plugin that I mentioned earlier. So when you do that, this keyword will be available. And pay attention here, we have to start application using the Perfecto keywords. So this is to ensure that Perfecto, the keyword, ensures that the connection to Perfecto is established when we execute a test case. And then this here is essentially just a header. So basically later on when you execute a test on Perfecto, you will see that there is a header starting, there is this header, and under the headers there will be all of the steps. So essentially a way to help you see a group of test steps more easily. Okay, so that's how you can record a test case on Perfecto device. So as you can see, I don't even have a simulator. I don't have an Android simulator on my machine, but yet I can develop test cases on an Android device. So this feature is very powerful and very useful, particularly for now. Okay, so the next thing I would like to show you is how to execute the test uh, on the Perfecto Cloud devices. So let me switch back to Katalon Studio. And we all know that in order to test on iOS, we have to have a Mac, and that puts a constraint on our hardware requirements, because some companies usually like to give out Windows machine. So that's a restriction. So with the execution feature on Perfecto Cloud device, we can work around that constraint. So to execute a test on Perfecto devices, you can just click on this run button and then choose the custom capability here. But I would like to execute against two different platforms, both Android and iOS. So in order to do that, I created two test suites, and then I just put the test case within that test suite. So when I do that, I will be able to execute a test suite collection, which is, as the name suggests, a collection of test suites. And then here I can specify the run configuration. For the Android test suite, I will run with Android configuration, and for the iOS configuration. And this is the execution profile, which will contain the variables such as the path to applications, because on two platforms, the paths will differ. So basically, now I can execute the tested collection and just hit execute. So again, you can go to Perfecto here, and you will see that there is a connection established here. And if you click on the camera icon, you can actually see the execution is taking place. Okay, so now it's executing on an Android device. Okay, so let me just switch back to Katalon Studio. So a tested collection also allows you to execute tests parallelly, but of course the maximum instances is 8. To scale up, like for example to 20, you would need a Katalon runtime engine, which allows you to execute tests in parallel. So if I go back to Perfecto, I can actually see that the test is now probably ended, and the IO test will continue to run. Yep, so this may take a while, depending on how stable your internet connection is. Okay, so now another execution is going on. This time it will be on the iOS device. So because I'm using the free trial on Perfecto, I only have one current concurrent execution. But of course, you can scale that as much as you want to. So as you can see, this feature allows us to execute tests on Perfecto devices, which means we don't need actual devices or have to set up simulators on our own machine to do testing. Okay. Yeah, so the execution is essentially finished. And now it depends on a lot of factors, the performance. It depends on your internet connection because my internet connection sucks, so it slows. Okay, so you can also go to the report library on Perfecto to actually see the uh, executions in steps. So here, these are the two executions that I just run. And here, if you expand the header, the step here, you can see all of the test steps, and you can actually replay the execution. So this is useful in case of troubleshooting failures, because it's always better to have visuals. You can skip ahead if you want to. Okay, so um, and the final thing that I would like to talk about is the image recognition with Katalon Studio. So in modern applications, there are usually elements that are visually distinct, but often the elements do not have stable locators. But to test these elements, traditionally it will be very difficult. But with the new feature, image recognition in Katalon Studio, which utilizes the Appium state-of-the-art technology, it will be easy to test these elements which have visuals that are very distinct. So because unfortunately my machine broke down recently, so I cannot show you the actual test that I set up, but I do have a video that I will try to walk you through here. Okay, so essentially the task at hand is to automate a messenger application, and we want to click on the send button. The button have a text send, which is very visually distinct, and we want to ensure to click on that button regardless of uh, the actual locator. So as you can see here, in your test case, you can use the tap on image keyword, and then you just need to specify the picture into your input column here, which is essentially the input to the keyword tap on image. And the screenshot is just the image of the button. Yep. So this is the image of the send button. So it's just a very simple test case. And now when I execute this test case, the step tap on image will pass, and it will be using the image, the provided image, to locate the element. Okay, so as you can see, the test case is passed, and the given image has been used successfully to locate the element. And of course, we also add a verify element here, statement right here, to avoid false positives. Okay, so that is the feature of image recognition with mobile. And now I will hand things back to Mush in order to continue. Mush, can you take over?
Absolutely. So I think, thank you again, Than, for that. I think the next part of our presentation really is more about a poll. Let me go ahead and share my screen real quick so you guys see it. But what we were trying to also see is, obviously, given the time that we have available, we may not be able to have answered everybody's questions or shown within the demo anything specific to what you wanted to see. So what we're trying to do next is see if there would be a way, if anybody was interested in getting a demo specifically customized for your project. I have launched a poll that should show up on your screens. If you would really like to take the next couple of minutes, real quick, and pick one of the options, that will help us reach out to you for that. So let's just take the next a few seconds, maybe 10 seconds or so, and have that answered. If you guys can just answer that if you're interested or not, or even at a later point, that would be great. And then the other aspect of this also is, I think, one of the things the panelists have been doing at this point is looking at all of the questions that were coming on and try to answer them as early as possible while the demo was going on. I'll go through a few of them and we'll try to answer them real quick. We've got just a couple more minutes left in our time slot. So, Tan, this may be for you real quick. The question is, can we share configurations with other testers in the organization using Katalon?
Yep, so the configuration is essentially just a physical file. So you can just copy that and paste into your personal projects on the personal computer. So yeah, it can be shared fairly easily.
Gotcha. And then another one, I think this one is tied to both Nico and Than. A question that comes up is, if we execute Katalon Studio scripts on Perfecto, do we need to purchase the runtime engine licenses?
Yep, so the runtime engine enables you to execute your test without the UI of Katalon. So it's very useful to integrate your testing activities into the CI/CD, but you don't necessarily have to have a runtime license to execute tests on Perfecto.
Gotcha. Awesome. And then there's one quick question also that says, hey, will a summary of the question and answers and the messages be sent out? I believe that will be sent out, so you should have that as well. There's also another quick question. Can my test be shared with other testers and developers?
Yep, so Katalon Studio also supports a feature called test artifact sharing. Essentially, you can export your test cases, objects, all of that into a zip file and then just import it into Katalon Studio from another machine. So essentially, that's how you can share your tests with other testers and developers.
Awesome, awesome. I think, guys, that's all the time we have, unfortunately, for our webinar today. So the other ones, if we haven't answered your questions yet, we will follow up and get them posted out as well. Real quick, before we leave, I have another poll out there. If you could quickly respond back on the survey as far as this particular webinar, this will help us prepare the topics as well as our presentations for future webinars of Katalon. So please take a moment and quickly respond to that as well. I will have the poll closed out in the next few seconds. Again, thank you everybody for attending, and really appreciate you asking all the wonderful questions, as well as looking at what the tool is offering and continuing to use it. We really appreciate your support, and uh, we will talk to you all next time. Thank you so much. Bye bye.